Hi, it's Luann Mitchell. What an honor and a privilege. We're doing part two. We're doing a show series here. There's going to be more than part two. We're going to do many, many parts to these episodes on this specific show that's just off the planet wonderful. So,
I hope so.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm telling you something. Now that we got you, I'm not letting you go. So they're going to have to want to share you over there in Kentucky, because over here in California and the entire world, as you have been already touring and doing great works, but over here on Big Media USA, we want to have a lot of time with you. So,
Thank you.
my good man, Dr. Zavos, let's start with a question for you that, because I just know you just got off calls with partners around the world and people interested in hearing your story and diving into all your great works, etc. Australia, Dubai, all across this great planet, Asia, Europe, UK, here we are. And here we are in California right now, in the United States of America, and we're wondering what the exciting things that are happening for you all around the world at this moment are. And please, could you share?
Well, I'll be happy to. Let me upfront say that it's such a pleasure to be interviewed by you and spending time on this podcast. It's always a pleasure to share with people. You know, whether you're sharing your drinks or your food or your ideas or your concepts, it really brings me a lot of happiness to do just that. You know, every day is a living day, because very simply you deal with the world. As I indicated before, people is our business and the world is our market. And I may not know the people across the street from my office, but I sure know how to go downtown Beijing and not get lost. And therefore, more of the story is that it is a globe that we're dealing with, and you just don't know who's going to call you and who's going to ask you questions and who wants what, etc. So it is exciting as long as you keep your cool, and you're patient with people, and people are patient with you. Just a few minutes ago, I had a lady from Pakistan that said to me, "You're the only man in the world that can help me have a baby." And I said, "Well, that's obviously a compliment. However, you know, I think that she told me about her problems. I said, I think you need to see your doctor. I said, I'm 8,000 miles away from you. I never met you, and I don't know exactly what the cause of your problems might be. And for me to prescribe something over the phone or over the internet is just not fair." But she insisted. She says to me, "Our people here don't know anything. And you people are so advanced." And she began to talk to me about stem cells and about, you know, how to reverse her perimenopausal condition that she's into. She's 42 years old. And she has 3 sisters, and all of them have the same problem. They do not have any children at all. And obviously, when people tell you that, then automatically you say, aha, how about genetic linkage? Okay, because it could be something very hereditary. And of course, you need to look at every aspect of it. And I can't interview somebody over the phone or on the internet 8,000 miles away and come up with a solution. So that is really the exciting things that are happening. Now, as you realize, I am heavily involved in many aspects of reproductive medicine. I now get involved in COVID-19 testing procedures. People want me to participate in discussions, give them my feedback, my knowledge, my know-how. What do I think as far as epidemiological things? And now I have a weekly program in Cyprus that I get on television, and they wanted me to speak in Greek, of course. And when I speak in Greek, everything is in Greek to me. My Greek is not very good. I can't even pronounce COVID-19 in Greek. I don't even know what it is, let alone carry an intelligent conversation. But long story short is as follows. Reproductive medicine is an exciting area where people really need to be treated as such, because people need to reproduce. When a species is born in this world, you have 2 things that you have to do in your destiny as a newborn. You have to grow up, reproduce, and die. And therefore, those are the things that you got to do. And if you don't reproduce, you die without passing your genes around. And then it becomes a big problem for people. They say, you know, how can I do this? And then it becomes a serious problem for people, especially in developed countries, where they say, well, I am not going to have a child until I have 2 Mercedes in my garage and I pay for my house. And then they become 45 years old, especially the female. And then he says, well, how can I have my eggs frozen? Or how can I have a baby tomorrow? And how can I do this and I do that? Well, I said, I can, you know, do everything in this world, but for me to reverse your menopause or perimenopause and make you younger and get your ovaries to tune in and generate eggs, good quality eggs, so you can have a healthy child, it's almost impossible. Although I'm working now with a group that is really involved very heavily in rejuvenating the ovaries of a woman.
My goodness.
And this is very exciting. And they join me because very simply, I have already produced the first stem cell baby in the world in Pakistan, via which I have taken males that have lost their ability to produce sperm, azoospermic males as we call them. And then after very, you know, thorough scrutiny and evaluation of the male, we can introduce stem cells from their own skin that we can make stem cells out of, and then perfuse the testes with the stem cells. And we have about 42% success rate in this aspect of a treatment of azoospermic males. Therefore, this team says, if you can rejuvenate the testes and we rejuvenate the ovaries, we have what we used to call in the 60s, a groovy thing going.
I love it. You have the best personality. I just love it. You know, you're a pioneer. You are a pioneering spirit doing amazing things, blazing new trails. How in the world did this come about?
Well, you know, things come around because you negotiate with people every day, and then they challenge you every day. You know, the challenge for me is, you can do this, or why don't you do this? I was with a producer from New York that came to see me, and he came over to make a donation of his sperm to do various things with his wife. And he said to me, he was sitting at this chair, and he says to me, why do I have to come here? I'm a director, a movie director, and I make $5,000 a day sitting on my chair in New York. Why can't I send you my semen here some way, and then I'll send you my wife here, and then you use my semen that you get when I send it to you via FedEx or whatever. I developed shipping and cooling and other mechanisms for sperm over the last 30 years. And I developed a technology now that I call biotrans. I can send you one of those kits to New York. You produce a specimen in New York. You put it in our kit, follow our instructions, and then you drop it off at a FedEx drop-off station. The next morning, I get it by 10 a.m. And when I open that kit and I rewarm that solution that contains the sperm is like fresh.
Wowzers.
So now we can do a number of different maneuvers with that sperm, whatever they may want us to do. They may want us to inseminate his wife. They want us to do IVF with his wife. They want us to do a semen analysis and find out whether he can fly a 747 or drive a Volkswagen. We can do all kinds of things. And obviously, it alleviates a lot of problems in the world that people have to travel, which of course are impossible now to do. And then, you know, but there is a typical example of a movie producer from New York comes to my office and says, can you do this? Sure. And then 2-3 months later, I put the package together, and now it's available throughout the USA, Canada, and Mexico.
That's magnificent. You know, I've heard, I forget where I was, but one of the gentlemen who was speaking, he said, he was, I think, a doctor from LA, and he said, why do you think God put 300 million sperm in one ejaculation? And the people were like, I don't know. He said, because he knew that they're men and not one of them would stop and ask directions.
Well, that's a nice way of putting it, except to say that indeed, we men obviously kind of blindfolded when we release those sperm cells, and therefore we need to sort of make a very generous donation in order for that one sperm to
Generous
and create what we call fertilization.
There
And
you go.
so it
That's
is.
good.
I always tell people the analogy of George W. Bush when he invaded Iraq. He sent 450,000 Marines to kill Saddam Hussein, who is the egg. Okay, only one Marine killed Saddam. Not 10 of them. One of them shot him.
Yeah.
That's a very typical analogy of how the fertilization process takes place and how Mother Nature decided to do business with the male and the female in order to allow them to conceive.
That's beautifully said. You know, I also heard it said that, you know, if you were to ask all of those sperm in that one ejaculation, what is life like? What is that? What? Oh, it's terrible. You get shot in this black hole and you toss around and it's awful. But you ask the one, it's, oh my God, it's beautiful. You meet this beautiful egg and you unite and we create life. Right?
Now you answered my question, Luann.
Oh, yeah?
That is why I'm a pioneer. I am that one sperm.
You are that one sperm. You are indeed. My God,
Beautiful.
you bless this world. And speaking of that, in this world, you have been chosen as the father of andrology. You must tell us a bit about this honor and that you so deserve and that you carry for this entire planet.
Well, it's a long story. I'm going to shorten it up. It's been something like since 1978 when I exited my graduate program at the University of Minnesota. I entered the OBGYN department, Prentice Women's Hospital on Michigan Avenue at Northwestern University in Chicago. When I came to that department as somebody that would obviously be pioneering and developing and treating the male, when I began to lecture to OBGYNs about male infertility, they all thought that
yeah, this is beautiful.
sorry about that.
Okay.
It was a call coming in.
Good.
It was all of them were just looking at each other and say, why do we have to worry about the male? I mean, we're all OBGYNs. We all know about the woman. The male was law as far as we're concerned. He has no problems. He shouldn't have any problems. And, you know, when we began kind of things, and we're realizing that the obstetricians and gynecologists that treat male infertility in general, they just beat that woman to death. And they all say, well, if she doesn't get pregnant, it's got to be a problem with her. Do you have a man? He says, yeah. Does he have sex with you? Yeah. Oh, he's perfect.
Yeah.
They take that woman and they run it through every surgery that there is.
Yeah.
And every aspect of infertility assessment, hormones, you name it.
Yeah. I know women like
they come
this.
to me 10 years later and they say, look at that male. Well, he has no sperm. Oh, okay. He's in firing blanks all this time.
Yeah.
So that is really what evolved the male aspect of infertility treatment and diagnosis since 1978. And 1978 was a very prolific year. 1978, Louise Brown, the first test tube baby, was born. Okay? So really, for me, it was a very inspiring time of my lifetime when I saw in the news that a baby was made in a test tube. And of course, we were all wondering, how can this be done? And of course, all of a sudden that evening, I had to be on television in Chicago explaining those things. So I really needed to put the story together. Long story short is that I got to meet Louise Brown. Louise Brown today is one of my friends. And Bob Edwards, the gentleman that made Louise Brown, as a matter of fact, the picture in the back on the wall here, the middle man is Bob Edwards. It became like a brother to me. And we developed this mutual respect and collaboration because we were pioneers in the field He was in the embryology area, I'm in the andrology area, and we became pioneers in some respect. And we had to fight the same fight.
Mm.
Because being a pioneer, they don't give you a free ticket. They scrutinize you every turn and every way that they can. Say to you, why are you here? What the hell are you doing?
Sure.
And I have to think of enough points as how I can.
Well, that's a perfect segue because
so andrology.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say that's a perfect segue because I wanted to ask you, your attempts to clone the first human made you famous. But what price have you had to pay?
Oh, the price was incredible price.
My gosh, I bet.
As you realize, you go in front of so many audiences, and everybody obviously that is against it, they want to kill you. And they want to do all kinds of things to you. I've been to London, and I was warned that there'll be a parade somewhere, and they're going to be throwing eggs at me. I've been in front of the Congress twice. Why do you want to do this? Don't you know that this is not the way to allow people to reproduce? And I said, you know what? I had a number of different talking points. One of them is that, I'm doing God's work.
Yeah.
And God actually is the first cloner in the world. He did create Adam, and he took a piece of Adam and created Eve. And therefore, I am doing exactly what he's doing. I'm not taking a whole side of Adam. I'm taking a couple of cells.
Wow, I like
it. And then I am creating a human only for those people that cannot reproduce. If you cannot reproduce, and that's your only option, I say that's fine. We can do this. I think it's the proper way to go about. I'm not cloning the Michael Jordans and the Michael Jacksons in this world.
Yeah.
And I have no ambition in stepping on dead bodies to get to where I need to go. My business is helping people, and people began to get it because they simply understood a small aspect of my operations is to help people, and therefore, any time that you have no guilt feelings about helping people eventually get it, because as I said before, people is my business, and I got to help people. Nice. And without helping people, I get no kicks.
That's nice. And people say that you have superhuman qualities, and I believe those people are right. I'm one of those people. I say you have superhuman qualities too. But what do you think about that? And do you have superhuman qualities? I mean, you're just not like everybody else out there. My goodness, you're special.
Well, Luann, when I turn around and I say, we're not doing stand-up comedy, are we?
No, we're sitting down.
I really have to laugh at those things because very simply, when people meet me, they realize that I am as human as anybody. And as I continue to tell people that the things that really please me in this world, and the thing that pleases me the most, is for me to be human. You cannot be other than human to help humans. Okay, if you don't have the humane aspect of your own self, you cannot help somebody else. It's just like putting an electrician to fix your plumbing. You must know the subject. The subject is humans. The subject is people. And if I understand them, and if I feel their pain and suffering, I am a better person to treat them with what I know and what I learned from them. And therefore, each and every one of them is a lesson for me, because every one of them have their own pain, their own suffering, and they want something unique in their own lives. Right. And unless you sit down and you really delineate properly their needs, you're not going to be able to help them. I can only kick the tires, but that's not what they want.
Yeah, that's fair. So, and earlier, I just, we passed over it, but I want to ask you again. So now with fertility checkups, does that mean that the man and the women are checked because it used to just ascertain it was the woman, is what I heard you say. So now is it the man and the woman who must be checked to see? I'm a widow, and my late husband, he had cystic fibrosis. And cystic fibrosis affected his reproductive. He had less than a 3% chance to father a child. Ultimately, I did become pregnant. I did have a child, but we put our name in for adoption immediately upon hearing that. Later, he had his heart and both lungs transplanted. And after that surgery at Stanford, it went down even lower than less than a 3%. And we adopted a child, but I got pregnant again. And I birthed a daughter. So we had a son, and then we adopted a son. And I have, you know, we spoke earlier about the family genes. I have a sister who's never been able to get pregnant. And so it's interesting how, you know, me as a sister in low, you know, probability was able to, and she never was. So is it the man and woman who are tested now all the time? I mean, my husband was tested because of his health circumstance.
Under ethical conditions and really the correct manner, when they want to be tested, the man sees an andrologist, a male infertility expert, and the woman sees infertility OBGYN. Okay, that is a fair way of doing it, because it's simply, for me to test a male, it's just, literally speaking, the easiest way is to get a cup and ask him to fill it up. I look at it, and then I tell him whether he can fly a 747 or drive a Volkswagen, or even not being able to drive. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
And therefore, I can identify his problems real easy, although there may be more complex problems if we find one. However, the female really requires a great deal more attention. She's got more bells and whistles, as we say. And because of that, then she needs to undergo a lot of scrutiny. And like what is not fair, and I see an awful lot of couples that come to me, and their doctors say, well, the male, just put him on the side. You have sex with your wife? Yeah, okay, he's all right. Let me zero on you. The reason that he's not doing anything with the male, he knows nothing about the male.
Got it.
And he doesn't even bother to pick up the phone or look up something and say, maybe I can find somebody that can help the male. And now I can zero in on the female. And he played that kind of a game with a couple. They walk into his office at age 25. And by the time he decides that, you know, he's not going to be able to help them, the woman is 35.
That's correct.
And then the woman begins to lose her fecundity at age 35.
Yeah.
And by 40 in England, you cannot even have an IVF.
Well, my.
And therefore, you know, you're very precious and loss of the fecundity, as we call it, the ability to reproduce. And all those things are really so miserable experiences for couples to say, you know, I've been scrutinized for 10 years. I have nothing to show for. I paid my fortune. And now I am in front of you and I say, you're the only man that can help us.
I see.
We read about you and we do this. But I'm not a miracle man. I mean, I have my limitations just like everybody else. But here I am now facing a problem that they created, not the couple, the physicians created, because it's easier to treat the problem for a couple that is 25 years old than when they get to be 35 and 40.
Interesting. So pearls of wisdom. Now complete that, and then we want a pearl of wisdom to throw out for our audience around the world.
Absolutely. This has been a very interesting life trip for me. I enjoy thoroughly the kinds of things that I do, and the wisdom that I can know people, really very simple things. I can take only 60 seconds here to tell you a story that can tell you exactly what really is lacking in this world. An electrician came over to replace my air conditioning units, and he was willing them to replace them. And, you know, he says to me, you're a very highly intelligent guy, have several PhDs. I've got 2 of those. And he says to me as he was walking down, he says, I've got a PhD too. I looked at myself and I said, and what is it in? He says to me, in common sense.
Nice.
And then I said to myself, now I got 3 PhDs.
Nice.
2 from universities and 1 from my life. I have a lot of common sense.
Beautiful.
And really what I ask people is really acquire common sense and let life teach you some things.
Yes.
Don't ever say that I know everything, because people that know everything don't belong in this world. They need to exit. They need to go somewhere else. And therefore, my life, my secret is that every day of my life is a day in class, because I live it and I learn from it, and I use that knowledge constructively to help others. And that's really a lot of people don't realize the beauty about living a full life and making the most out of it.
Oh, I love that. You know, when my daughter was young, maybe, I don't know, 5 years old, we were driving and taking a taxi somewhere. And the taxi driver said, I have a PhD. And she said, oh my gosh, what does that do? Make you sick? Is it like a cold? And I never forgot that. Out of the mouths of
That's a good
babes.
one.
Out of the mouths of babes. Oh, God bless. Thank you so much. Sadly, we're out of time for this show, but we're going to do more shows, okay? And I'm going to hold you to it. I pray you will say yes. And we're going to do several episodes. We've been flooded with calls, and our global family, Big Media USA family, saying, Luann, please, please, we need more, we need more. So we will pray and hope you will indeed do several episodes with us. We're going to have
my
lots
pleasure.
of fun.
That'll be my pleasure, of course.
That's
Indeed.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.